Elena Vasquez rolled her wheelchair through the crystal halls of the Galactic Senate building. Her cybernetic spine glowed softly through her formal Earth uniform. Around her, aliens of every shape and size moved with perfect grace. Not one of them showed any sign of physical weakness or difference. The Zephyrians floated past like living gemstones, their crystal bodies catching the light. Each one looked exactly the same. No cracks, no flaws, no variations. The collective moved in perfect groups, their hive minds thinking as one. Even their individual bodies looked identical. The astrolites drifted by as pure energy, their forms stable and unchanging. Elena had been Earth's ambassador for 5 years now. She still felt out of place among all this perfection. Her spine had been damaged at birth, leaving her unable to walk without help from machines. On Earth, this was just another way to be human. Here in the galaxy, it made her a walking reminder of what every other species had left behind. The Perfection Protocol had been the galaxy's law for 300 years. Every species that joined the Galactic Confederation agreed to follow it. The rule was simple. Only the strongest and most perfect members of each species could contribute to galactic society. Everyone else had to be removed. The Zephyrians had been the first to embrace the protocol. They had shattered every crystal person who showed even small flaws. Now their species was beautiful but cold. The collective had disconnected any individual who could not link perfectly with the hive mind. The astrolites had dissolved every energy being whose form was not stable. Each species told the same story. They had become stronger after following the protocol. They had eliminated disease, weakness, and genetic problems. Their societies ran smoothly, with no one to slow them down or cause trouble. They looked at their old histories with shame, remembering when they had allowed imperfect individuals to waste resources and hold back progress. Elena entered the Senate chamber and took her place at the Earth delegation table. Ambassador Chen sat beside her, reviewing their notes. Chen was deaf and communicated through sign language and written messages. Behind them sat Dr. Martinez, whose autism made him brilliant at understanding complex galactic law but terrible at small talk with other ambassadors. The other delegations watched the Earth team with barely hidden disgust. After 50 years in the Confederation, humanity still had not followed the protocol. They had made excuses and asked for more time. They claimed they needed to study the process and make cultural adjustments. But everyone knew the truth. Humans were too weak to do what was necessary. Prime Senator Kefter of the Zephyrians called the session to order. His crystal form rang like a bell as he spoke. "We gathered today to discuss the human problem," he announced. 50 years have passed since Earth joined our Confederation. 50 years of delays and excuses. The humans continue to harbor defective individuals in their society. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The collective delegation hummed in unison. The astrolites pulsed with shared disapproval. "The Perfection Protocol exists for good reason," continued Kefter. "Genetic weakness spreads like disease. Mental defects waste resources that could be used by productive citizens. Physical disabilities slow down progress and development. Every species in this chamber understands this truth." Elena felt her jaw clench. She had heard these arguments many times before. To the galaxy, she was a defect that should have been eliminated. Her mechanical spine made her an abomination. Her very existence proved that humanity was too soft and foolish to make hard choices. Ambassador Vasquez called Kefter. "Will humanity finally commit to implementing the protocol? Your people have had more time to prepare than any species in galactic history." Elena activated her translation device and stood as much as her chair would allow. "Honored senators, humanity continues to study the best approaches for our unique situation. We request additional time to ensure proper implementation." The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Crystal bodies chimed discordantly. The collective's humming became harsh and grating. Energy beings flashed with irritation. More time? Demanded Senator Vorth of the collective. Humans are the only species to resist the protocol for so long. Your defiance insults every member of this confederation. Perhaps humans are simply too attached to their weakness, suggested Senator Prax of the Astrolites. His energy form pulsed with contempt. They cannot bear to eliminate their defective members. Elena had learned not to argue too strongly in these meetings. Any sign that humanity truly opposed the protocol would bring immediate consequences. Instead, she had to play for time while appearing to cooperate. Humanity recognizes the wisdom of galactic standards, she said carefully. We simply require thorough preparation to avoid mistakes that could harm our transition process. This was not entirely a lie. Humanity was preparing, just not in the way the galaxy expected. Elena knew about the secret projects hidden across Earth and its colonies. She knew about the research facilities working around the clock on technologies that might offer alternatives to genocide. The galaxy grows impatient with human excuses, declared Kethtar. We have been generous beyond measure. No other species received 50 years to comply with basic galactic law. Elena nodded respectfully. We are grateful for the Confederation's patience. Humanity will present a detailed implementation timeline at the next quarterly session. Moralize. Humanity would never voluntarily eliminate their disabled, their mentally ill, their genetic variants. But saying this openly would mean immediate intervention by galactic forces. Earth was not ready for that confrontation. The session continued with discussions of trade routes and mining rights. Elena participated when required, but her mind was elsewhere. She thought about her daughter back on Earth, born with the same spinal condition that Elena had inherited. Under the protocol, neither of them would have the right to exist. She thought about the disabled athletes who competed in Earth's zero-gravity leagues, using their differences as advantages in ways that amazed spectators. She remembered the autistic engineers who had designed the faster-than-light communications that connected Earth's colonies. She considered the blind pilots who could navigate asteroid fields better than any computer. All of these people would be classified as defects by galactic standards. All of them would be marked for elimination. The very traits that made them valuable to human society made them targets under the protocol. When the session ended, Elena made her way back to her quarters. Tomorrow she would send another coded message to Earth, reporting on the galaxy's growing impatience. Soon, humanity would have to make a choice between their principles and their place in galactic society. Elena just hoped her people would choose correctly. Prime Evaluator Kethtar stepped off the shuttle onto Earth's main spaceport. His crystal body reflected the bright lights as he looked around with growing confusion. The first thing he noticed was wrong was the ramp. It had rails along the sides and a gentle slope instead of steps. Why would humans waste resources building accommodations for beings who could not walk properly? Behind him came the rest of the inspection team. Commander Vex of the Collective scanned the area with multiple sensor arrays built into their skull. Evaluator Prax floated as a contained energy field, their form shifting as they processed new information. All three had come to see how badly humanity was failing to implement the protocol. Instead, they found something that made no sense. A human woman approached them, moving smoothly despite having no legs below her knees. Metal and plastic prosthetics carried her forward with mechanical precision. She smiled and extended her hand in the human greeting gesture. "Welcome to Earth," she said through their translation devices. "I'm Director Sarah Chun of the Global Inclusion Institute. I'll be your guide today." Kethtar studied her with his crystal sensors. This human was clearly defective, yet she held an important position. She spoke with confidence and authority. Her prosthetic legs were clearly more advanced than anything in his database. "You are disabled," stated Kethter bluntly. "Yet, you hold rank in human society." This suggests poor implementation of selection protocols. Sarah's smile widened. "I lost my legs in an accident 5 years ago. The prosthetics I wear now are stronger and faster than biological legs. I can run at 60 kilometers per hour and jump 3 meters high. Would you like a demonstration?" Before anyone can answer, she sprinted away from them at incredible speed, then leaped onto a platform that was clearly designed for someone with enhanced jumping ability. She waved down at them from above. "Many of our technological advances come from solving problems that disabled people face," she explained as she jumped back down. "We learn to make better tools when we have to." The inspection team followed her through the spaceport. They saw humans with metal arms loading cargo with superhuman strength. Others with computer implants in their brains coordinated complex logistics without speaking to each other. A group of completely blind humans navigated between moving vehicles using clicking sounds, like living sonar systems. "This is highly irregular," muttered Commander Vex. "These individuals should have been eliminated for the good of society. Instead, they appear to be contributing members." Sarah led them to the first stop on their tour, the zero-gravity sports complex. Inside the massive dome, humans were playing games in artificial weightlessness. Some had no arms and used their feet and heads to hit the ball. Others had no legs and spun through the air like dancers. Players with various disabilities competed alongside those without, each using their unique abilities as advantages. "Impossible," whispered Evaluator Prax. "How can defective individuals perform better than normal ones?" "When you can't use your legs, you get very good at using everything else," explained one of the athletes, a woman born without arms who was famous for her incredible accuracy with her feet. "I can hit targets that people with hands miss every time." The team watched in stunned silence as the armless woman scored point after point, her feet moving with precision that exceeded anything they had seen. Their next stop was the Research Institute. Here they met Dr. James Kim, a man whose autism made normal conversation difficult, but who could see mathematical patterns that escaped everyone else. He had recently solved a problem with faster-than-light navigation that had puzzled the galaxy's best minds for decades. Social interaction requires significant mental effort. Dr. Kim explained through written notes, since speaking was challenging for him. This leaves more brain capacity for mathematical processing. "My autism is not a disability in my work, it is an advantage." He showed them his latest project, a new type of computer that mimicked the way autistic brains processed information. It could solve certain problems, thousands of times faster than standard galactic computers. "Commander, Vex's sensors analyzed the device and confirmed its capabilities. This technology surpasses our best systems," they admitted reluctantly. "How is this possible?" "We stopped thinking of different minds as broken minds," Sarah explained. "We started asking what they could do instead of focusing on what they could not do." At the medical center, they met Dr. Lisa Rivera, who had Down syndrome. The inspection team expected to find someone unable to function in a complex society. Instead, they found a brilliant geneticist whose different way of thinking had led to breakthrough treatments for diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries. "My brain works differently," Dr. Rivera explained slowly but clearly. "I see connections between genes that other people miss. My condition helps me understand genetic problems better because I live with one." She showed them her research on genetic therapies that could cure diseases without eliminating the people who had them. Her work had saved millions of lives and was now being adapted to help other species in the galaxy. The tour continued to the engineering cores, where they met Captain Torres. He had lost both legs in a military accident but now used advanced prosthetics that could function in any environment. He could walk on the bottom of the ocean, survive in the vacuum of space, and had recently led a successful mission to repair satellites in a radioactive zone that would have killed anyone with biological legs. My artificial legs don't get tired, don't feel pain, and don't need oxygen, he explained. For certain missions, I'm more effective than any unmodified human. By the end of the day, the inspection team was completely confused. Every human they met who would be classified as defective under the protocol was contributing something valuable to their society. Many were performing better than normal humans at important tasks. Sarah led them to the final stop, a memorial garden dedicated to humans who had died before receiving help for their disabilities. The names of millions of people covered the walls. These are the people we lost before we learned to value what made them different, Sarah said quietly. We realized that what we called disabilities were often just different ways of being human. When we stopped trying to fix everyone and started helping them succeed as they were, we discovered abilities we never knew existed. Kether's crystal form hummed with confusion. Your society contradicts everything we know about genetic fitness and social optimization. How can this be possible? Maybe the galaxy has been looking at the problem wrong, Sarah suggested. Instead of asking who is perfect enough to contribute, we ask how everyone can contribute in their own way. We discovered that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. The inspection team returned to their shuttle in silence. They had expected to find a failing society that refused to eliminate its weak members. Instead, they had found a civilization that had turned weakness into strength and disability into ability that none of them knew how to report what they had seen. It challenged everything the galaxy believed about perfection and progress. The Galactic Senate chamber buzzed with tension as species from across the galaxy gathered for an emergency session. Elena Vasquez sat in the Earth delegation section, her mechanical spine glowing dimly in the artificial light. She could feel the weight of 800 alien gazes focused on her small group of humans. Prime Senator Kether stood at the center of the chamber, his crystal form ringing with authority as he called the session to order. Behind him, a massive display screen showed the inspection team's report from their visit to Earth. Honored Senators, Kether began, his voice echoing through translation devices in hundreds of languages. We gather today to address a crisis that threatens the foundation of our Confederation. The inspection of Earth has revealed disturbing evidence that humanity has not merely delayed implementing the Perfection Protocol, they have actively rejected it. Images from Earth flashed across the display. The inspection team had documented everything they saw: disabled humans in positions of authority, advanced technologies created by people who should have been eliminated, and a society that seemed to function better because of its genetic diversity rather than despite it. Observe these examples of human defiance, continued Kether. Individuals with missing limbs holding military rank, people with genetic abnormalities leading scientific research, humans with mental defects designing technology that surpasses galactic standards. Senator Vorth of the Collective rose to speak. Their voice was the merged sound of 1,000 minds thinking as one. The inspection team confirms what we suspected. Humans are too weak to implement the protocol. They have allowed emotion to override logic. They value sentiment over efficiency. Evaluator Prax's energy form pulsed with agreement. The human approach contradicts 3 centuries of galactic progress. If we allow this defiance to continue, other species may begin questioning the protocol. The contamination could spread. Elena felt sick as she listened to the clinical discussion of her people's genocide. To the galaxy, every disabled person on Earth was a disease that needed to be eliminated. The very humanity that made her people stronger was seen as weakness that threatened galactic order. The evidence is clear. declared Senator Theises of the reptilian hegemony. Humanity has had 50 years to comply with basic galactic law. Instead, they have built a society that celebrates genetic defects. This cannot be tolerated. More voices joined the chorus of condemnation. Species after species spoke about the need to enforce the protocol strictly. They discussed humane elimination procedures and genetic correction facilities, as if they were talking about upgrading software instead of murdering millions of people. Elena requested permission to speak. As the chamber fell silent, she rolled her wheelchair to the center speaking platform. Every sensor and scanner in the room focused on her cybernetic spine, marking her as exactly the kind of defect they wanted to eliminate. "Honored senators," she began, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "Humanity requests additional time to study the implementation of the Perfection Protocol. Our society requires careful transition procedures to avoid social disruption." The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Crystal beings chimed with discord. Hive minds hummed with irritation. Energy beings flashed with impatience. "No more delays," shouted Senator Krex of the warrior clans. "Humanity has exhausted galactic patience. The time for gentle encouragement has passed." Keth, Har's form rang like an alarm bell as he called for order. "Ambassador Vasquez, the inspection report shows that humanity has no intention of implementing the protocol. Your disabled individuals hold positions of power and influence. Your society treats genetic defects as advantages rather than problems to be solved." Elena chose her words carefully. She could not admit that humanity would never voluntarily eliminate their disabled population, but she also could not make promises they would never keep. "Human society is complex," she said. "We require additional study to determine which individuals should be classified under the protocol guidelines. Our genetic diversity creates categories that may not fit standard galactic definitions." This was technically true, though not in the way the galaxy would understand it. Humans did need time to study the problem. They needed time to figure out how to escape it entirely. Senator Vorth spoke again, their collective voice filled with cold certainty. "The collective has analyzed human behavior patterns. Probability calculations indicate zero likelihood of voluntary compliance. Humanity will continue making excuses until forced to act." "The warrior clans agree," added Senator Krex. "Soft species require firm guidance. Humans must be shown that defiance brings consequences." Elena watched helplessly as speaker after speaker rose to condemn her people. The galaxy had decided that human compassion was weakness and human diversity was disease. No argument she could make would change minds that had been closed for 3 centuries. "The situation is clear," announced Kether finally. "Humanity has violated the fundamental laws of galactic civilization. They have harbored defective individuals for 50 years while claiming to prepare for compliance. The inspection confirms that they have no intention of following the protocol voluntarily." He activated the voting system, and the chamber's lights dimmed as each delegation prepared to cast their decision. Elena knew what was coming, but seeing it unfold still felt like a physical blow. "Resolution 2847, read Kether. Mandatory implementation of Perfection Protocol on Sol 3, designated Earth, with immediate effect. All member species will vote on whether to authorize corrective intervention against the human homeworld." The voting display activated, showing each delegation's choice in real time. Elena watched as species after species voted in favor of the resolution. The Zephyrians voted yes without hesitation. The collective's 1,000 minds agreed unanimously. The Astrolites pulsed with approval. One by one, every alien civilization chose to support the forced elimination of Earth's disabled population. The vote counter climbed steadily. 100 in favor, 200 in favor, 500 in favor. Not a single species voted against the resolution. When Earth's turn came, Elena cast their vote against the measure, but it was meaningless. The final tally appeared on the main display. 847 in favor, 1 opposed. Humanity stood alone against the entire galaxy. Resolution 2847 passes by overwhelming majority, announced Cathar. The Galactic Confederation hereby authorizes immediate intervention to enforce protocol. Compliance on Earth. Humanity is granted 30 standard days to begin implementation of corrective measures. Failure to comply will result in military occupation and supervised elimination procedures. The chamber erupted in satisfied sounds from the alien delegations. They had solved the human problem through proper application of galactic law. Order would be restored, and the dangerous ideas about genetic diversity would be eliminated, along with the defective individuals who embodied them. Elena sat in stunned silence as the session ended and alien diplomats filed out, discussing technical details of the intervention force. They talked about which ships to send and which elimination methods would be most efficient for human physiology. To them, the murder of millions was just another administrative task. As the chamber emptied, Elena remained in her chair, staring at the voting display that still showed humanity's lone descent. In 30 days, galactic forces would arrive at Earth with orders to eliminate everyone like her. The galaxy had voted for genocide with clinical precision and overwhelming support. Elena activated her secure communication device and sent a coded message to Earth. Resolution passed 847 to 1. Intervention authorized. 30 days. Then she sat alone in the empty chamber, wondering if her people had enough time to save themselves from a galaxy that had just voted them dead. President Maria Santos sat at the head of the Emergency Global Council meeting, her hands folded tightly as she watched the faces of humanity's leaders on screens from around the solar system. The message from Ambassador Vasquez had reached Earth 12 hours ago, and now they faced the most important decision in human history. The situation is clear, Santos began, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The galaxy has voted to eliminate our disabled population by force. We have 30 days before intervention fleets arrive. I've asked Dr. Wright to present our options. Dr. James Wright stood slowly, his weathered face showing the strain of the past months. As director of humanity's most classified project, he had hoped this day would never come. Behind him, holographic displays showed 3 different paths forward. Option 1, he said, gesturing to the first display. We comply with galactic demands. We begin systematic elimination of all disabled, mentally ill, and genetically variant humans. This would save approximately 6 billion lives at the cost of approximately 2 billion others. The chamber fell silent, except for the quiet humming of life support systems. Several council members looked sick at the thought. Option 2, Wright continued, moving to the second display. We resist militarily. Our combined fleets against the entire Galactic Confederation. Computer models give us a 0% chance of victory. Total human extinction within 6 months. More silence. Everyone in the room knew humanity's military was advanced but vastly outnumbered. Fighting the galaxy would be suicide. Option 3, Wright said, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. The Exodus Project. The third display activated, showing technical specifications that had been classified at the highest levels for 20 years. Advanced faster than light drives that did not require galactic infrastructure. Massive colony ships designed to carry entire populations across impossible distances. And at the center of it all, a navigation chart showing a path to the Andromeda Galaxy. Defense Minister Chum leaned forward in her wheelchair, studying the data with the sharp focus that had made her one of humanity's best strategic minds. Dr. Wright, please confirm what you're suggesting. You want us to leave the galaxy entirely. Not just leave, Wright replied. Disappear completely. Every human ship, every station, every colony. We take everyone and go somewhere the Confederation can never follow us. This is insane, protested Economic Minister Patel. You're talking about abandoning everything we've built. Our entire infrastructure, our trade relationships, our place in galactic society. What place? Demanded Military Commander Torres, his prosthetic legs supporting him as he stood. They just voted to murder our disabled population. What kind of society is that? Santos raised her hand for quiet. Dr. Wright explained the technical feasibility. Can we actually transport our entire civilization? Wright nodded grimly. We've been preparing for this possibility for 20 years. Ever since we first learned about the Perfection Protocol. We knew this day might come. He activated new displays showing the massive construction projects hidden throughout human space. Generation ships disguised as asteroid mining operations. Advanced factories building Exodus-capable drives in secret. Entire research stations dedicated to developing technology for intergalactic travel. The Andromeda Galaxy is 2.5 million light-years away, Wright explained. With our new drive systems, the journey would take approximately 18 months. We've identified suitable star systems for colonization and prepared everything needed to establish new civilizations. What about resources? Asked Agricultural Minister Kim. Can we sustain 8 billion people during the journey? The generation ships are fully self-sufficient, Wright assured her. Closed-loop life support systems, hydroponic farms, manufacturing capabilities. We can support our population indefinitely during transit. Minister Patel still looked skeptical. Even if the technology works, the logistics are impossible. You're talking about evacuating every human in the galaxy within 30 days. We've been moving key populations for months, Wright admitted. Non-essential personnel from frontier colonies have already been relocated to the generation. Ships under cover of routine transfers. Critical infrastructure has been duplicated in mobile platforms. We've been preparing for rapid deployment. Santos felt a chill as she realized the scope of the preparations. How many people know about this project? Need to know bases only, Wright replied. Perhaps 10,000 individuals directly involved in construction and planning. Everyone else has been working on components without knowing the full purpose. The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued for attempting negotiation with the galaxy. Others suggested partial compliance to buy more time. But as the discussion progressed, the reality became clear. There was no acceptable compromise. Minister Rodriguez, whose son had autism, spoke for many when she said, "How can we even consider sacrificing our own people? If we eliminate our disabled population to satisfy the galaxy, what kind of humanity are we saving? But if we leave," countered Minister Hassan, "we'll be alone in the universe. No allies, no support, no contact with the broader galactic community. The galactic community just voted to commit genocide against us." Torres reminded him sharply. What exactly are we losing? Santos called for a preliminary vote to gauge the council's sentiment. The results surprised no one who had been listening to the debate. 47 members voted for the Exodus project. 3 voted for continued negotiation. 0 voted for compliance with the protocol. The preliminary vote indicates strong support for Exodus, Santos announced. But this decision affects every human in the galaxy. We need broader consultation. What followed was the most intensive democratic process in human history. Using quantum communication networks, every human settlement participated in emergency councils. Colony ships, research stations, military outposts, and civilian populations all sent representatives to regional assemblies. The question was simple. Abandon their disabled population to save their place in the galaxy, or abandon the galaxy to save their souls. Stories flooded in from across human space. Parents refusing to sacrifice their disabled children. Disabled individuals volunteering to leave to save everyone else. Entire communities declaring they would rather face the unknown than participate in genocide. Dr. Sarah Kim, the autistic mathematician whose work had revolutionized navigation, sent a message that spread throughout the communication networks. The galaxy fears what they don't understand about us. They see our differences as weaknesses. But our differences are what make us human. If we eliminate what makes us different to satisfy them, we stop being human anyway. The vote, when it came, was not even close. Regional assemblies reported their decisions one by one. Earth, Exodus minus 98.7%. Mars colony, Exodus minus 97.2%. Europa Station, Exodus minus 99.1%. Proxima settlements, Exodus minus 96.8%. Deep Space Fleet, Exodus minus 95.4%. Every single human population chose to leave everything behind rather than abandon their disabled citizens. The final tally was overwhelming. 99.7% of humanity voted for Exodus. Santos felt tears in her eyes as she announced the results. By overwhelming mandate of the human people, we choose option 3. We will leave this galaxy rather than compromise our principles. Wright immediately activated the Exodus protocols that had been prepared for years. Across human space, hidden construction yards revealed their true purpose. Generation ships powered up their systems for the first time. Military vessels began retrofitting with Exodus-capable drives. The evacuation began immediately. Essential personnel started transferring to the generation ships, while supply convoys moved critical resources. Manufacturing plants worked around the clock to produce anything needed for the journey. In research labs, scientists worked frantically to download every piece of human knowledge into the expedition's databases. Cultural archives compiled the complete record of human art, literature, and history. Medical facilities prepared genetic samples to preserve humanity's biological diversity. Meanwhile, Admiral Torres coordinated the military aspects of the operation. The evacuation had to be completed before Galactic intervention forces arrived, which meant moving 8 billion people and their entire civilization in less than 30 days. This is the largest logistical operation in human history, Torres reported to Santos. But we can do it. We've been planning for 20 years. As the Exodus fleet prepared to depart, Santos made one final decision. Earth would be the last to leave, and she would personally ensure that no human was abandoned. If the galaxy wanted to find them, they would find empty worlds and silent space. Ambassador Elena Vasquez rolled her wheelchair into the Galactic Senate chamber one last time. 29 days had passed since the vote, and tomorrow the intervention fleets would depart for human space. She had requested this final session to deliver humanity's response to the galaxy's ultimatum. The chamber buzzed with satisfaction as alien delegates took their places. They expected to hear humanity's surrender, perhaps with some final pleading for mercy or reduced quotas for elimination. Prime Senator Kethker's crystal form rang with confidence as he called the session to order. Ambassador Vasquez, he announced formally, you have requested this session to present humanity's compliance plan for the Perfection Protocol. The Confederation is prepared to hear your proposals. Elena took her position at the center of the chamber, her cybernetic spine glowing softly under the lights. She looked around at the 800 alien faces, watching her with expectation. They had no idea what was coming. Honored senators, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. Humanity has made its decision regarding the Perfection Protocol. We have chosen to decline your generous offer to help us improve our society. Confused murmurs rippled through the assembled aliens. This was not the language of surrender they had expected. We have decided, Elena continued, to withdraw from the Galactic Confederation entirely. As of this moment, humanity formally renounces its membership and all associated obligations. The chamber erupted in shocked sounds. Crystal beings chimed discordantly. Hive minds hummed with confusion. Energy beings flashed with alarm. Impossible, declared Senator Vorth of the Collective. No species has ever withdrawn from the Confederation. There are no procedures for voluntary departure. Elena smiled. Then we're creating a new procedure. Effective immediately, all human territories, vessels, and installations are withdrawing from galactic space. We will no longer participate in Confederation activities, trade, or diplomacy. This is meaningless defiance, proclaimed Senator Krex of the warrior clans. You cannot simply leave. Our intervention fleets will arrive tomorrow and enforce compliance whether you claim membership or not. You're welcome to try, Elena replied calmly, though I suspect you'll find the task more difficult than expected. Kethter's crystal form rang with authority. Ambassador Vasquez, humanity cannot escape its obligations through legal manipulation. The protocol applies to all intelligent life, regardless of political status. That's fortunate that you'll soon have one less intelligent species to worry about, Elena said. We found the galaxy to be somewhat crowded anyway. At that moment, alerts began sounding throughout the chamber. Communication officers rushed to their stations as reports flooded in from across galactic space. The news was impossible, but sensor data confirmed it. Human installations were disappearing. Report, demanded Kethter. A Zephyrian technician's voice cracked as he spoke. Sir, we're receiving distress signals from human territories. No, wait. These aren't distress signals. They're departure notifications. The main display activated, showing real-time sensor data from across the galaxy. On every screen, human installations were going dark. Space stations powered down their systems and vanished from sensors. Colony ships engaged faster than light drives and disappeared into the void. Military outposts transmitted brief farewell messages before their signals cut out entirely. This is impossible, whispered Senator Prax, their energy form flickering with shock. Where are they going? Elena watched the displays with satisfaction. The exodus was proceeding exactly as planned. 20 years of preparation had led to this moment, the largest mass migration in galactic history. Humanity has found new opportunities elsewhere, she explained to the stunned chamber. We've decided to pursue them rather than remain where we're not wanted. More reports arrived by the minute. The human homeworld of Earth was completely dark, showing no signs of life or activity. The massive orbital installations around Sol were empty shells drifting in space. Even the deep space research stations had vanished without a trace. Where have they gone? Demanded Kethter, his crystal form resonating with frustration. Elena shrugged. Does it matter? You wanted us to eliminate 2 billion disabled humans. We've chosen to remove all 8 billion humans instead. Either way, your problem is solved. The chamber devolved into chaos as alien delegates tried to understand what they were seeing. Some demanded immediate pursuit of the missing humans. Others argued about legal implications of voluntary species withdrawal. A few began to worry about what humanity's disappearance might mean for galactic stability. The intervention fleets must launch immediately, declared Senator Krex. We cannot allow this defiance to succeed. Launch them where? Elena asked innocently. Human space is empty. There's no one left to intervene against. On the displays, the last human installations were powering down. The great orbital cities around Earth transmitted final status reports before their fusion reactors shut down. The massive shipyards that had built, humanity's fleet sent farewell messages as their automated systems sealed the facilities and went dormant. Elena, watched Earth's capital city disappear from sensors, and felt tears in her eyes. Her people had abandoned everything they had built rather than compromise their principles. Entire generations of human achievement left behind to preserve human dignity. "This is madness," protested Senator Vorth. "No species voluntarily abandons their entire civilization. Where could you possibly go that the Confederation cannot follow?" Elena smiled and activated her final transmission device. "That brings me to humanity's farewell gift to the galaxy." The chamber's main display switched to a new signal, a comprehensive data package containing detailed specifications for every technology humanity had developed through their disabled population. Advanced prosthetics that surpassed biological limbs, neural interfaces that enhanced cognitive abilities, medical treatments that cure genetic diseases without eliminating genetic diversity. These are the innovations that our defective population created, Elena explained as the data streamed across the display. Technologies that could revolutionize your civilizations and improve millions of lives. We're sharing them freely as our final contribution to galactic society. The technology packages included detailed explanations of how human disabilities had led to breakthrough innovations, how the blind had developed better sensor technologies, how the paralyzed had created superior prosthetics, how the autistic had solved mathematical problems that had puzzled the galaxy's best minds. "You see," Elena continued, "humanity learned that our disabled population wasn't holding us back. They were pushing us forward. Every challenge they faced led to solutions that benefited everyone. What you call genetic weakness, we call genetic strength." The data package also included comprehensive documentation of humanity's research on genetic diversity. Studies showing how hybrid populations were more resilient than pure ones. Evidence that genetic variation led to increased innovation and problem-solving ability. Proof that the traits the galaxy eliminated through the protocol were often sources of evolutionary advantage. "The galaxy has spent 3 centuries pursuing genetic perfection," Elena said, looking around the silent chamber. "You've made your population stronger, but less adaptable. More uniform, but less creative. You've eliminated the very differences that drive progress and innovation." Senator Kethter's crystal form had stopped ringing entirely. "This data, if accurate, it suggests our entire approach has been flawed." "Not flawed," Elena corrected. "Just limited. You chose one definition of strength and eliminated everything else. We chose to find strength in everything that made us different." The final piece of the data package was a complete record of human culture, art, literature, music, and philosophy created by disabled and non-disabled humans working together. Stories of triumph over adversity. Songs expressing the beauty of human diversity. Paintings that captured experiences no other species could understand. "This is our legacy to the galaxy," Elena announced. "Use it well. Learn from our mistakes and our successes. Remember that strength comes in many forms, and perfection is often the enemy of progress." She began rolling her wheelchair toward the chamber's exit, but stopped to deliver one final message. "When the intervention fleets reach human space, they'll find empty worlds and silent stars. We're not hiding from you. We're simply going somewhere you cannot follow. Somewhere we can build a civilization based on inclusion rather than elimination." "Wait," called Senator Prax desperately. "At least tell us where you're going. The galaxy will want to maintain contact." Elena paused at the chamber door and looked back at the assembled aliens one final time. "We're going home," she said simply. "Somewhere that will welcome all of us, exactly as we are." With that, she rolled out of the chamber, leaving 800 stunned alien delegates to contemplate the empty displays showing where humanity used to be. 3 hours later, the final human ship transmitted its departure message from the edge of galactic space. Admiral Torres himself, delivered the broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. To the Galactic Confederation, you voted to annihilate our disabled. We voted to leave your galaxy instead. You believed that perfection required elimination of difference.